Why being authentically you is the key to manifesting everything you want, and why it's so hard to be authentic. Hey there, my name is Jenn. I'm a coach, healer, and creator of the Aligned Life, and I'd love to welcome you to Aligned TV. This is the place where I am helping you to up-level your life, starting on the inside. As you might have guessed, today we are talking about the power of authenticity. Don't you worry, I'm going to give you some tips at the end to help you connect with your authentic power. But first, I want to explain to you why being authentic is so important for your manifestations. Being authentic means really claiming who you are, and I mean who you are, not the image you think you should be, not the person that your parents wanted you to be, not the person who you see on social media and aspire to be like. Do you see where I'm going with this? Many times we feel confused about who we really are because we are so busy trying to be somebody we're not. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we need a little inspiration and expansion to help us to see what is possible. Getting out of your comfort zone, trying new things, wearing a new style of clothes, taking a new class, etc., etc. Sometimes doing these things helps us figure out more about who we really are. And yet sometimes this desire to chase things and change ourselves comes from a place of deep-rooted insecurity. We feel like there is something fundamentally wrong with us, and so we try to fix that by becoming somebody who is more socially acceptable or lovable or likable, etc. This sounds like it should be a very obvious process, and maybe you're thinking right now, that does not apply to me at all. However, this game that we play of becoming inauthentic starts at a very young age. I'm willing to guess that your parents had ideas for who they wanted you to be. They wanted you to be the bubbly girl, the smart girl, the pretty girl or guy or whatever gender. Even if they didn't say it outright to your face, you got rewarded for playing into some certain ideas that they had about who you should be. Basically, they started loving you a little bit more and a little bit louder when you were closer to who they wanted you to be. So I just want to say this with complete love and respect to our parents who are usually doing the best that they could at the time with the knowledge that they had. But we all learned, or most of us have learned, how to be inauthentic because we have been pushed to be somebody who we're not really from such a young age. So we get this pressure from our families to be somebody that we're not. We also get pressure from society to be more socially acceptable, to fit into what is in at the time, whether that is how you look, what you are into, etc. Basically, there are a lot of ways we can learn to be not exactly ourselves, but more harmfully. We have internalized the idea that there is actually something inherently wrong with us. And this will put us on this infinite loop toward always trying to be better and trying to be a more lovable, likable person. And this is how we lose our authentic power. Let's back up here for a moment and talk about what this has to do with manifestation. You being your authentic self and asking for what you authentically desire and feeling like you authentically are worthy of it. That is the real key to manifestation. There's a few different ways that this can go sideways. Number one, we start to chase goals or visions for our life that aren't actually in line with us. These are the things we have learned to like because that's what society tells us we should like. Or we're trying to please a certain person in our life, whether that be our parents or our partner, or perhaps even a good friend. However, you will never have as much success going for the desires that aren't really yours as you will for the things that really, truly light you up. For one thing, you are just never going to feel that excitement and that drive toward the things that aren't that great. And when you get there, if you get there, If you have been manifesting something that isn't actually aligned with you, you're going to get there and get really bored really fast. I just want to say that happens a lot anyway. We think so much about the goal, we don't think about what comes after. And then in the end, the goal doesn't mean as much to us as we thought it would. However, this can feel even more hollow and disappointing if you have been wasting your time chasing after something that isn't really aligned with you. Contrast that now with you going after the things that really light you up, and I mean genuinely light you up, not just the things that are going to look good on Instagram. You going after those things means you have to know what they are. That means you have to be really in touch with who you are as a person. You have to be really clear about what your core values are. This is why teaching about core values is part of my manifestation program. If you come join me in Healed and take our basic manifestation course, we will go into defining your core values, because that is such an important piece of knowing who you are. Second of all, feeling like you are genuinely deserving and genuinely worthy of these things is part of that authenticity process. Basically, that means you are not going after these things because you think that they are going to fix you or make you feel better or make you feel more lovable or likable, etc. That is actually what a lot of us are doing when we set goals for ourselves. We are going after these things in a desperate attempt to fix ourselves. And you know what happens anytime you try to fix yourself on the inside with something on the outside, it just never works out the way that you want it to. Even if you achieve that thing, what you've really done is you've just put a band-aid on the surface, but the real problem and the real core issue is still there because you never did the work to feel truly worthy and deserving. So even though you have the thing, it's not going to feel authentic and it's not going to feel as good as it should. If you are an authentic person, if you are being true to who you are, if you can walk in a room and not bend your will or try to play nice to make everyone else more comfortable, and I don't mean go in and tell everybody off all the time or tell them your negative thoughts, even though those thoughts really don't matter in the context, but like you're just trying to be authentic. In turn, you end up alienating yourself. That's not what I mean at all. But do you have the confidence to walk in the room and not try? Not put on a mask, not be the good girl, not be the funny person, but just show up being you. Do you have the ability to do that? Many times we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what that feels like. We are so good at people pleasing that we have forgotten how to be ourselves. That is one core area, if you are struggling, that you may need to look at. Second of all, feeling worthy of your goals without the goal. This is really the ultimate in letting go and surrender. If you have been in the manifestation world for a while, you know how popular the concept of surrender is. I always get questions about this. People don't know how to set a goal and then at the same time let go of it. But being really in your authentic power is such a key component of this, because that means that you believe that this is a good thing for you to have and you feel aligned with it. Yet at the same time, you're not going to make it mean something if you don't get it. You're not going to feel like there's something unworthy or defective in you if this thing doesn't turn up. This thing is a nice to have. It is not something that is designed to fix you, because there is nothing to be fixed. A lot of these concepts around authenticity take us very far away from the typical way manifestation is really taught. If you have been struggling to manifest in your life, then I would really suggest thinking about your authenticity. Are you being authentic to yourself? What are your core desires? What do you really want in life, and what do you want your life to look like? Forget about what it looks like on the surface. Forget about what it looks like to other people or what it will look like on Instagram. What do you actually want? When you can start to answer that question for yourself, you are going to get a lot closer to the things that are truly aligned with your authentic power. So now we know authenticity is such a key component of living an amazing life and manifesting your goals. I know the next question is, well, how do I become more authentic? Again, I want you to have some grace here with yourself, especially if you were taught at a young age that some parts of you are less lovable than others. Your biggest task right now is to learn how to love yourself completely, even those shadowy parts of yourself that you were taught to not love at all. I just want you to know this, and I want you to feel it in your heart right now. You are completely worthy, even as you are. as your current, imperfect, unfinished self. You are just as deserving as you were the day you were born, and you are just as deserving as you will be on the day that we elevate past this planetary level. Your deservingness is there the entire time, and it is not the schooling, the relationships, the house, the car, the job, whatever, that makes you more worthy. Your worthiness was always there. So my question to you is, where are you hiding from your worthiness? Or where are you telling yourself that you are feeling unworthy? This, of course, is a big question, but it will bring you back to your authentic power again and again, because so much about being authentic is being truly, radically you. So the you that you were born as, not the you that you were taught to be in order to be more likable or lovable. You can just start to gently interrogate yourself right now and think about those parts of yourself that you are not typically willing to look at. How can you own that part of yourself? For example, maybe you are accused of being a jealous person and you really get upset and you really fight that when people call you that name. But maybe that is because you know that you are jealous. When you were little, you were taught that if you were jealous, you were unlovable. And now as an adult, you are fighting to not be called jealous, even though that is actually who you are. It's been part of who you are this whole entire time. And instead of fighting so hard against being called that, what we should be learning how to do is to bring in that jealous part of ourselves and learn how to love it and accept it. That doesn't mean staying there the whole time. It doesn't mean you have to lean into that energy, but acknowledging that this is part of you. And actually, your jealousy can be a tool, as is everything else about you. These things are not just bad. You have been taught to think of them as bad. But when you reclaim that, you can start to see that there is so much power there. And again, when we're not being authentic and we're trying to be somebody else, we lose some of our power. And that is because we have lost some of these shadow aspects of ourselves. The next thing you can start to do when you want to connect with your authentic self is to really start to check in with yourself throughout your day. See how you are feeling. Notice the thought patterns and behavior patterns that are going on in your mind, and really start to notice when you have accidentally been playing small, when you've been putting on a smile and acting nice when you were not feeling that nice on the inside, but you thought that this was the right thing to do. Again, I'm not telling you need to go out and start a fight or attack people, but what if we leaned a little bit more into that energy? What if instead of pretending that everything is okay all of the time, even though when you know it's not really, and we have all been there, you guys, what if you let yourself be a little bit unhappy, a little bit angry, a little bit unlikable in that moment? Not that that makes you actually unlikable. Just being authentic and admitting that and claiming that can make you more likable in the end. We don't trust people that are being toxically positive, like just being positive all of the time. Like there's something really disingenuous about that. And like we can tell it on a subconscious level, even if we can't really consciously tell what is going on. Despite what your brain is telling you, being true to who you are and owning every single aspect of yourself can actually make you more likable as a person. It's scary AF, I know, but actually doing this is not as hard as your brain is telling you it is. Right now, it is telling you that the world is going to end if you are your authentic self. And I can promise you right now, my darling, that that is not the case. My final tip on becoming more authentic is to just tune in and start to ask yourself, what do I like? What do I want? What do I need? Try to do this at a few times throughout your day, because you might be running on autopilot. You might be running on assumptions. You might be running on a lot of priorities that actually aren't yours at all. And it can be really illuminating to be doing something that you have always been doing and to realize that actually I'm not really into this. Like, I know I've had this experience myself, putting myself in situations because I always say yes, I always do this thing. And then at a certain point in time, realizing this is not actually vibing with me anymore. As soon as I can admit that to myself and to make adjustments on that, I will start to feel better. I will start to feel more empowered. Another way you can tell if you are not being your authentic self is if you're feeling bitter or resentful. Usually that is because you have silenced your own desires or your own needs and you are trying to play nice. And in the process of playing nice and pretending that you don't have any needs or desires, you are putting yourself last, and that never feels good. Being authentically you is honestly a superpower. And if there's one thing I can wish for you today, while you're watching this video is for you to reconnect more with your authentic self, whoever that might happen to be. And if you have no idea who that is right now, at least I want you to get really excited at the prospect of meeting this version of you, of doing the work, doing the questioning, doing the mind auditing to figure out who that is, because I promise you it will be worth it. I could, of course, talk a lot more about authenticity, but I'm gonna leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for being here with me, my beautiful friend. I've enjoyed this so much. If you like the vibe here, I invite you to come over and download my free Notion manifestation template. It is a free digital template for manifestation. You can get it right now if you come over and sign up for my mailing list. If you like this video, please give it a like or a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. I'm wishing you a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next video.